Oh, yo, what is good, my quick crypto family and my coin factory family? Are back again with another daily Casper crypto live stream, and we have a whole series of information of sources to get through in today's stream. We're going to be covering some very big, huge smart contract updates. Some stuff we've already covered, but there has been some new information that's come out, some more clarity regarding smart contracts, in particular with Igra Labs, that I think is worth covering, and it's very important stuff. Also some other Casper updates here and there as well, and equally, and when we're going to start off with today's stream, a market outlook and update. Because while the markets are, they're kind of okay, they've kind of been stagnant for a while, altcoin's still bleeding, Bitcoin's still trading near all-time highs, there is increasing investor sentiment right now that we might see pullbacks in the immediate short term. Right now, there's a lot of people shorting Ethereum, which is perceived as the altcoin indicator right now. So if Ethereum comes back, alts might follow in suit. We'll get into all of that in this stream, and also an interview from Tom Lee on CNBC, where he basically gave his 2 cents as well, which was an agreement to the short-term pullbacks, institutional sentiment, but also the possibility that it will change given Federal Reserve sentiment and possible rate cuts. All of that and much more, as always, in today's daily live streams. If you enjoy the content, you know what to do. Leave a like, share with your friends, subscribe for more, and welcome back again to the channel, to the community. If you want to get more involved in crypto and Casper, to learn more about the space, check out the free Discord server, links down below in the description and also on my homepage. And equally, got a VIP group where you can find out a lot more alpha information ahead of time, educational videos, and so much more. We've got a weekly live stream happening tomorrow as well. We'll be covering some big alpha information regarding what is coming up. So if you want to find out more, again, tune into that. 7-day free trial. Don't know why it's white right now. It should always be in dark, but it does it sometimes now. 7-day free trial, and equally, thanks to BYDFI, you sign up through that, my affiliate link, get a 1-month free trial as well. But I'll talk about that later on in the stream. Welcome back, Andy, bro. You're doing very, very well, brother. 65 Casper out of Kraken today. Love to hear that, my man. Keep stacking that bag. Indeed, you're going to be richer than all of us. I am very, very sure of that. Now, that being said, everyone else who's just tuning in, welcome back to the stream. Have a very, very good day so far. We can see right now, looking at the market chart, Bitcoin is not really moving right now today. Valued at $108,000, just trading below 10k. We have seen Bitcoin try to test 10k once again. It got rejected here earlier. Yesterday, last night, which is not a big cause for concern just yet. I believe you may see a bit, I was saying, in the last few streams, you may see Bitcoin continue in this fashion, kind of trading in and around this region, leading up into next week and equally the week following that. The crypto week coming up, where you'll see hopefully the admission of the crypto legislative framework, the stablecoin bill, that would likely cause a rally of sorts, at least in my personal belief. Not financial advice, again, it could go away. But you'll see a lot more confidence from investors if we do get some legislative framework. So we may see Bitcoin rally in that regard. So we might see Bitcoin stay around here. Again, just veering off slightly from that M2 money supply for the incoming 1 or 2 weeks or so. Again, it should be kind of rallying right now. It's a bit lagged behind. So we may see Bitcoin therefore maybe move more so around here in accordance to the emission of the legislative bills. We do get the stablecoin bill and passed, and equally maybe the market structure bill as well. Bitcoin's not really moving right now, but that is, again, not too concerning. Still trading around all-time highs, and according to some Wall Street analysts, it has regained its peg to gold and outperformed gold. So people are now perceiving Bitcoin once more as a safe asset, a risk-off asset, not risk-on, which crypto is perceived as, which is a very, very big thing, meaning you'll see more investment into Bitcoin, more Bitcoin dominance, but that could inherently mean a bigger altcoin cycle should, and in my belief, when that does happen. Looking at other assets right now, Ethereum, again, is not really moving much right now, and I highlight Ethereum because apparently there are quite a lot of shorts happening right now. Spectators have built one of the largest shorts Ethereum futures positions in history, we can see right now, which is absolutely insane. So, of course, the big worry, therefore, you're going to see a massive, massive drop in Ethereum's price, but there is two positives to take away from that. One is, if these shorts get liquidated, so we go the other way, you'll see a likely a colossal spike in the price of Ethereum and therefore altcoins as well. There's a massive short going on Ethereum right now. It's still not really moving right now, down 0.7%. It's currently valued at $2,491. We could see Ethereum come back down a little bit more so. It might just be a short-term thing, but if you see those shorts get liquidated, you'll see a likely big rally for Ethereum, maybe regaining to 2.8k, maybe going up to 3k and beyond that as well. Based on market sentiment, I'm hopeful that is going to happen, of course. And equally, we're going to play, or I'm going to summarize even what Tom Lee stated in this CNBC interview here as well. So in an interview from CNBC, which you can listen for yourself, I might play a segment of it in a moment. But Tom Lee basically stated on CNBC that institutional sentiment right now is actually still very speculative, still very they're very a bit standoffish right now. They're still a bit suspicious, a bit worried because we have seen 5 crisis events, in recent history: the COVID crisis, the pandemic, FTX collapse as well. You've seen other elements as well regarding Armageddon and many other stuff that was highlighted from Tom Lee here, which all these institutions have survived. Good for them. And the good news is that the investor sentiment right now is much stronger than it was back in February, which we can look back here. Back in February, of course, that's when Trump was starting to roll out the potential of tariffs and whatnot. Even though Bitcoin right now is at similar value, similar price to where it was at February, in fact, it's a little bit higher right now, the confidence is a lot higher as a result. Even after this massive fallback, we're a lot stronger. But in saying that, investors, especially institutional investors, are still very concerned. They're concerned because they haven't got much. They expect us to be a lot higher right now, and we're not, which is interesting to think, despite how strong the economy has been. Also, the lack of the Fed rate cuts has also been a cause for concern, but that's actually a bit of a good and a bad thing. No Fed rate cuts has made investors think what is going on, what the Fed's trying to do, but at the same time, with the market and the strength it's seemingly showing right now, if the market can as Tom Lee highlights in the interview, if the market continues to show the strength following this summer, if the summer can hold this strength with the CPI inflation data and whatnot as well, and we see inflation continue to come down, or the job market starts to stabilize more so as well and grow, that will be a very, very big catalyst, because that means we'll see markets nearing all-time highs, economies showing strength, tariff capital probably flowing in as well, inflation going down, all reassuring metrics, and the Fed will have freedom as well to start cutting interest rates, with there being little to no downside because inflation's down as well, which will lead to one of the most speculative rallies. Now, apparently a lot of institutions are currently setting up a lot of short plays, like we're seeing with Ethereum as well right now. Of course, he's talking about stock, but it is transferable to crypto as well. The markets are similar in regards. So we're seeing a lot of people trying to short these big assets right now. But the whole summary of that, well, my tangent's now finished. The whole summary of that is, with a lot of short setup, we are expecting some pullbacks in the immediate short term, but that sentiment can flip very, very quickly, and especially if we start getting rate cuts. If we get rate cuts, the investors will be forced to go into a cyclical long, forced to liquidate these shorts and start popping up higher, up higher and higher and higher. And the thing is, if you start getting rate cuts, they're not going to just cut twice and leave it. They'll start cutting, believe this in September, and then you'll see continuous gradual rate cuts for the next 12 to 24 months. So, people are then asking the question of, if you're seeing continuous rate cuts for the next 1 to 2 years, starting in September this year, will that elongate the bull cycle? Again, we'll have to play by ear, time will tell. We can see here in a post from Dr. Martin Heidberg, the Fed target rate probabilities. Again, these can easily shift. We can see right now it's apparently a 93% chance we won't be seeing rate cuts happening by the end of July. Then there's a 70% chance we'll see 1 basis point cut going into September. And then again, the percentage, of course, get smaller and smaller and more diverse, if you will, as you go on, because it's really hard to predict what you're going to see in rate cuts, a year or so from now. It says here by December, is that December? By December 9th, 2026, they've got a chance for us seeing, 6 rate cuts at 25%, so a quarter. Now, I have seen some other big institutions on Wall Street saying that the likes of, Morgan Stanley, I think it was, or it might be Goldman Sachs, one of the two, where they believe that you'll see at least 8 rate cuts in 2026. So we'll have to see again the strength of the economy. Right now, it's still a lot of uncertainty, which is, of course, not good for investors. We'll find out a lot more, of course, in due time. But one of the reasons why we're seeing short behavior right now is also based on this metric here as well from Bravo. So this is according to consumer confidence and recession indicators. This graph illustrates key indicators from the Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Survey. The percentage of consumers who anticipate fewer jobs over the next 6 months. This line has proven to be a remarkably consistent predictor. Again, not 100% accurate, but relatively accurate. Just like the M2, I guess, in that regard. Surging right before every US recession since the 1980s. We can see here the graph, you see the recession indicators spiking up above 30%. All these times we saw recession around those parts, in the just below like 1994, 1980s or so, just before then about 1990s, and equally the 08 financial crash, one of the big ones as well. So currently this number, as it stands, is just at 30%. The little wick, we can see it right here. So, of course, with that regard, there is now investor concern. Historically, every time this metric has risen above 30%, a recession has either begun shortly thereafter or was already in progress. This rising consumer fear about job prospects stands in contrast with the current unemployment rate of 4.2%, which actually right now I believe it's 4.1, has come down a little bit, a level the Federal Reserve considers full employment. However, consumers seem to believe this is about to change very soon. So, the takeaway from this right now, according to investor sentiment right now and institutional sentiment right now, is while the economy seems to be showing some form of strength and growth, inflation's coming down a little bit and the job market's growing a little bit, some are perceiving this as just a sort of fake out. Actually, the market is not as good as we predict. Actually, we're going to see a great reset and a collapse. Inflation maybe starts spiking up over the summer and job markets start to go a little more out of hand. If that does happen, then again, we'll talk about it when it happens, maybe count our chickens before they hatch and maybe start looking for exit strategies, because recession, would stop and halt the bull cycle. I've been saying that, for months and months and months. I don't believe we're at a recession. And even now, investor sentiment says that. I'm still not so sure just yet. I still think we can come out of that, especially if we do get rate cuts. Again, remember, the Fed's whole job is to prevent recession, and they've not cut any rates yet. So if we get a recession confirmation, the Fed will have to start stepping in to alleviate that. Either they're trying to get in a recession or causing inflation to go a little bit higher to try and prevent that. For most people, and even for the Fed, it's no-brainer. They'll start cutting rates to prevent that. Of course, they're still concerned about Trump's tariffs. Have to wait and see what happens in that regard. But either way, that is kind of the investor sentiment right now, and that is probably why the markets are dumping right now today on the weekend, where nothing's really moving. It's a bit of FUD, it's a bit uncertain, it's a bit of a cause for concern, but I am still, as you know me, the optimist, not worried right now. I still think with what's coming through in the next couple of weeks regarding legislative frameworks for crypto, in regards to Casper as well, building their testnet for Igra coming out in a couple of weeks, and maybe even the mainnet for Casplex not far off either. I'm optimistic for Casper's growth and its potential, and equally for crypto as well. I still think we've got a lot higher highs to come. I am not one of the people who believe we're in recession right now. Despite the sentiment seems to be that, people, for the most part, 30% of people think we're in a recession right now, give or take. I don't think we're there just yet. And whilst a seemingly accurate indicator, I think we still got a bit more room to run. But again, I'll be watching the markets closely, playing it by it, and let people know my thoughts at time. Of course, not financial advice. Do your own research. Definitely do your own research, given these times right now. But right now, I'm still optimistic. I've seen through my VIP group, the information I posted in there, this sort of belief these institutions have in the market, what they want for crypto. So should we see a pullback, of recession, or another lackluster lag in the market? I'm still confident that in the years to follow, it's going to be absolutely insane. We see institutional adoption here for the first time. It's a significant deal. We're going to see this market onboard and tokenize stocks and bonds and real estate and debt. Everything's going to come on crypto. So once more, do your own research. Don't be emotional. Definitely don't be emotional. Be logical. Do your research. Don't just listen to what I'm saying and start panicking and selling your assets, because that's not my job here. It's not my job at all. I'm literally an educator. I'm a content creator. I'm an entertainer more than anything. I give you content, I give you information, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do with that, and also research into it more so. Don't be emotional, be logical. Right now the markets are looking a little bit worrisome, but I do personally believe that this is just a fake out, and we'll see the markets rally. And therefore, if you do get Fed rate cuts, as Tom Lee highlights in the interview here, we might see continuous rate cuts for the next 18 months, and that could be extremely bullish for crypto, for altcoins as well. Now, before I get to some Casper content and equally the market outlook for Casper, let's get to questions real quickly first and foremost. Welcome back, Scott, my man. You're doing very, very well. Any theories on why those 8 Satoshi era wallets moved 14 years later on Independence Day? I haven't got any theories myself, personally. It is quite a weird coincidence, I'll give you that much. Definitely give you that much. It's a very weird coincidence, but I haven't got any theories on it. You might have it as a case of maybe these wallets were holding the whole time in anticipation that eventually Bitcoin and crypto will become an integral part of the financial system, and now institutions are being here for the first time. So they now see that with institutions being here, and you could argue therefore maybe Bitcoin losing its centralized nature because institutions are taking more control of it and more centralizing it, therefore they're now starting to shift the assets about. I've not looked too deep into it. It's definitely interesting, so I definitely will look into it a bit more so, but I haven't got... My theory is mainly just like they held Bitcoin and believe it's going to be a ultimate, store of value, ultimate form of money, which in regard to an extent it is store of value, definitely form of money, maybe not so crypto. Casper, I like to believe so, definitely. Now institutions are finally here and Bitcoin's now above 100k and going to hopefully rally more so. They're now, capitalizing off that as well. Welcome back, Steinex. You did very, very well. Quite amazed at all the good stuff coming up for Casper, yet the price is staying the same. It's because there's just no market sentiment. It's not even just Casper. Right now, Casper is down 2.4%, which is more than most other assets today, which is, I guess, a cause for concern. But it's short-term volatility for the time being. It's been this way for a while. It's frustrating, of course, but multiple assets right now are in a similar boat. Again, Ethereum hovering at 2.4k. It's 50% down from all-time highs. Casper's down a little bit more, so that's Ethereum we're talking about, the second biggest asset in crypto. All altcoins are, in respect, bleeding. Sui had a spectacular run. Sui is still down 50% as well. Tau, I believe, one of the best AR projects out there in this space. Tau is down from recent highs, 60%, even then from all-time highs, about 60% as well. Again, it's still a significant pullback. So it's frustrating, all the stuff coming to Casper. That's just me, though. For me, though, with what's coming to Casper and the price still being so far down, it just means that, as Kathy would state it, the longer the base, the bigger the breakout. Casper has a very, very long base. So for me, and in my belief, not financial advice, in my belief, when it does break out, it'll be a big breakout because it has a very, very long base now. Welcome back, Wing Homeboy. You're doing very, very well. Remunia, not yet, unfortunately. I'm hopeful in the next few weeks, but again, investor sentiment right now seems to be a bit more on the bearish side right now. Although Wall Street, again, it's still a lot of uncertainty. That's the current stage we're at right now. There's elements in Wall Street, like Cathie Wood, for example. I saw an interview from her earlier today where she was talking about the fact that her indicators from 21 Shares and her company, ARK Invest, her company, suggest that Bitcoin and crypto, therefore, is still in a bull market, which is good, therefore. But then you heard like Tom Lee and his institutional investors who are currently, most of them are short in the market right now. And those who are long in the market, they don't see as a long-term long. They're probably thinking a few months and then they'll see it go into a reverse bear market. So, and again, that all could change depending on the Fed and the macro sentiment, which again, that's the big question right now. The problem is we're in a predicament where inflation seems to be coming down, where the Fed wants it to be, but they're not cutting rates because they're worried about inflation rallying again off the back of Trump's tariffs. And the job market is also doing very well as well. So we're in a predicament where, by all regards, the Fed should be cutting rates and they're not. So people now are just worried about what's going to happen. Maybe the Fed knows something we don't know. So that's why they're standing off and just being more conservative, if you will. You know what? Actually, let's play this interview from Tom Lee so we can get a bit of an understanding more so on what he means in that regard. So it's very close to the interview here.
Joins me here, Tom. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
So we have this rally that's now extending probably beyond what most were positioned for, but it started in a moment of peak uncertainty.
Yes.
And even when we were in peak uncertainty, a lot of us were saying that's kind of usually forward-looking bullish. But are we now getting to a point where we have finally feasted on all of the uncertainty and now we have a lot of these blanks being filled in?
I don't. I think that it is appropriate that we are making new highs because the fundamental and the visibility is better now than it was in February at the old highs. And I think there's three levers that are going to get pulled. One we know is that the Fed didn't unleash liquidity at the April lows. So we have a Fed that's been on hold and tight But if the information and the data comes in dovish, that's 12 to 24 months of Fed liquidity and dovishness. That hasn't happened yet. The second is that I think that there is a false argument. People are saying the multiples are stretched. The PE should be expanding because we've now had 5 stress tests that companies survived. They survived COVID, they survived the bullwhip effect, they survived the inflation surge, they survived the Fed fastest hikes, and now they survived Armageddon. If you don't have 5 more episodes, multiples will be higher 2 years from now. And the third is that I agree with anybody who says that, look, we've kind of reshaped some of the economic flows around tariffs, but that's an upside story because if it plays out better, that's an earnings surprise. So you have 3 levers that tell us that 6,200 is the market beginning to recognize we're in a better position, while $7 trillion cash is on the sidelines. And I can tell you, our clients, institutional clients, remain very skeptical. This is the most hated V-shaped rally.
Now, I will play a little bit more from this interview in just a quick second, but just to kind of depict a little bit of that there. So his institutional investors, his clients, they call this the most hated V-shaped rally. They survived a lot of very, very tough times, a lot of crises, and they've got better sentiment on the market right now, but because the Fed's still standing off, because they're still unsure about tariffs, they're skeptical. They're skeptical. They have got a lot of capital, 7 trillion apparently, in market makers sitting on the sideline, which is reassuring. So you could potentially see that capital coming in. You've got to remember as well, you haven't got to see, in regards to stock market, or even regards to any market, you haven't got to see, 3 trillion come in for the market, therefore for crypto to 2x, In regards to stock, he talks over to here, you haven't got to see 60 trillion for a 10% increase in stocks. You can see just 200 billion, and that caused a significant rally, a 10% increase. So you don't need a stupid amount of capital to cause that much of a surge. You can have a little bit, and it'll still have a similar effect. But what he says also here is interesting. He talks about, again, how the institutional investors are still very much skeptical, but should we get rate cuts, we could see something a lot better and more reassuring for the markets, and it could completely change how they are currently investing and how they're perceiving the market. Let's make, see again to Tom Lee here.
It's like, what are we talking about?
Well, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, in fact, money market balances have declined. They only started to rise really in 2022.
Right, they had a stutter step. Correct. And then they went up.
If you look at margin debt, NYSE margin debt, the dollar amount absolute is still below where it was in October 2021. So you have like 4 years, it's 4 years and you're still not even higher in margin debt. And third, it really doesn't take, you don't need 60 trillion to come into the stock market to have it rise 10%. You probably need 200 billion. And I think there's a lot of high net worth money. I know there's a lot of our institutional long short macro that is shorting this rally. And the long only managers are defensively positioned. They don't believe in a cyclical long. But look, if rates come down and the Fed starts easing, it's going to force people into a cyclical tilt.
So once more, again, very insightful stuff from Wall Street expert Tom Lee. Do keep in mind that he is a bullish individual. He's always looking on the optimism of the market. He does break down how their investors are currently a bit skeptical. They are currently short in the market, but there are people who are defending their position as long, institutions who are long in the market defending their position, but they don't predict a long-term long. They don't predict a long-term long. It's more of a short-term long, but that could change if the Fed starts cutting rates, because remember, the European Union, the European Central Bank, have cut rates 8 times. They're over 200 basis points below America, and inflation for both the European Union and America, United States, are quite similar. So in that regard, the Fed, could be replicating what the European Union have done. They haven't done. Hopefully they do, but you're still seeing, for the most part, a bit of optimism, but just a bit of skepticism at the same time. So once more, still uncertainty on what to do. And that's causing, therefore, markets to be quite lackluster right now, without a clear direction of where to go right now, because they want to see what the next macro data comes out and what the Fed do. The Fed right now have been holding a stance which is unfamiliar to us. They should, at this, with all regards to the macro data, they should be cutting rates right now, and they're not. So people right now are concerned. That being said, let's get to the Casper content first and before I get to more questions right now. You can see right now Casper on CMC is currently got a $39 million 24-hour trading volume, so once more extremely low. Again, top 40 on CMC, so again, holding that position very nicely. Once more, the volume is being dominated by the likes of BitGet, has been doing that for over a week now, maybe even 2 weeks now. Currently at 32%, which is lower than usual, it's normally about 40%. Overall, the volume's low, so, even though it's dominated on BitGet, the overall volume is quite low, so it's not, a massive thing to shout about, but I do want to highlight once more that according to the KEF, who's in the AMA on the 10th of April, they stated that Kraken were going to list Casper that November, which they did, so they obviously had the information there, and they also stated that these tier 1s want to see high volume from the big tier 1 exchanges already listing Casper, which is Bybit, BitGet, and Kraken now. So if you see high volume with these 3 particular exchanges, mainly BitGet right now, that could incentivize and give an indicator that tier 1s are looking at Casper more so right now. The overall volume is low, so it's not a big thing to take. If you see Casper volume up at 2, 3, 4, more so 500 million, and BitGet is dominating that, that's reassuring. That's a very good indicator. Otherwise, then they're still waiting and seeing for Coinbase, Binance, OKX, Crypto.com, Gemini, you name it, all Robinhood to eventually list Casper. I'm still optimistic some of them will list the cycle, provided that the cycle continues, which I think is still possible. Have to wait and see. We'll also have more updates here as well regarding wallet activity. KRC20 is not really doing much once more. Zeal's come down quite a bit, 24 mil as opposed to 35 mil a few days back. PBCAS is now down to almost 13 mil market cap. Nacho sitting at 7.5, and everything else is coming down a little bit more so as well. And again, that's because the price of Casper is again not really moving. The whole market's not really moving, therefore it's not doing too much. Looks like Igra has been delisted, or it's not showing up properly. It's not being traded anymore, so that's good to hear. I'm going to talk about it again anyways today. Igra, there's a token called Igra that was launched on KRC20, which is not the actual Igra token, because Igra is going to be launching on their layer 2, not on KRC20. So not that you can anymore, but do not get involved in the Igra token right here. But either way, that has been done with now, and it's so good to be avoided now, which is good news. And then we've got the actual wallet. So we have seemingly heard that Wallet 2 once again has scooped up more Casper, which, considering the market sentiment right now, which seems to be a bit more on the bearish side right now, that is actually quite reassuring. They're getting their average down lower and lower. They're probably around, I'd imagine. Again, I don't actually know how to check it. Truth be told, I normally have my brother and my man Andy A to check it for me. If you can quickly, brother, for me right now. But to my understanding right now, that average is probably in and around 10 cents, maybe give or take, maybe 11 cents. It was at 13 cents about a month or so back, and they've been buying more and more since. They've now got 818 million Casper, almost $61 million for the Casper right now, buying another 2 million almost a day, which is insane. We don't know who it is still. Some say Binance. They've been buying since March 2024. Some say it's a market maker. Some say DWS Labs, which KF partnered with, but that partnership happened in 2025. It could be Wintermute, who've been with Casper for a lot longer. Tough to say right now. It makes most sense. It's probably a market maker, but until we find out, again, it's just speculative. Either way, they're scooping up a lot. I believe it's definitely an exchange of sorts, or a market maker of sorts, that will help in getting to exchange listings and whatnot. So I'm skeptical that it's just a big wallet holder, big whale. If it is, then I mean, fair play to the brother who's doing that, or sister. But now I've got 3% of the supply of Casper, which is insane. There'll be an Aquaman very soon. Maybe they'll put an Aquaman, and then they'll start actively giving out their, or paying out their tokens, if you will, their coins, their Casper crypto, to the entities. If it's like Wintermute or and DWF Labs, they have connections to the likes of Binance, OKX, and many other exchanges, so they could be giving it out to those exchanges to list the project. We'll have to wait and see. I have seen another post from Binance relatively recently. I made a video on that. We seem to talk about, again, another post that seemed to highlight a Casper. Once more talking about block parallelization, or just parallelization in transactions, which can be done through blocks as well, which is Casper, therefore Ghost DAG, Block DAG. So again, we'll see what happens in the future in that regard. Right now, Casper's down 2.09%, valued at 7.4 cents on the daily time frame, and it's still, it's been a little bit over a week in comparison to the last time, but it's still, for the most part, following that structure that we saw before its breakout back in April after Liberation Day. We saw it trade around here for a week between the 7.2 to 8 cents zone, like it's doing right now. And then when the market started rallying, we saw Casper go for one of the best rallies out of all the altcoins, going up about 2.5%. Up to where it reached at 13 cents, and then had this gradual pullback again. So I'm hopeful that it will continue in this structure. Therefore, we've seen this low here. So another low here, but actually it's technically a higher low. So you could look at it a bit. You could look at the structure originally was looked at as double bottom here. And you saw higher lows being formed, and then it kind of broke that again. But you could look at it on a slightly wider frame. Again, that's why TA is very speculative. Double bottom here, it rallied up. This is pullback. You had a kind of ABC up, ABC down, and this is a higher low here. So hopefully we'll see, therefore, the next rally, should it happen, which I believe it is hopefully on the horizon with the, if we get the passing of the Genius Act, I'm hopeful it will happen as well. You might see therefore Casper rally and then form a higher high above here. And then you'll start seeing that gradual push upwards. And then once the smart contracts come out, hopefully we'll see so much more coming out, which in that regard, let's get to the updates really quickly from that. So Chris Kang made a post about 4 or 5 days ago, which is still very much in the mystery, not really sure what it has to do with, talking about reconnecting the RPC, in regards to the Casplex DevNet version 1.0.2. So it seems to be something on the DevNet talking about ZK Ethereum virtual machines, so zero knowledge EVM proofs. So it looks like it's something regarding the ZK Ethereum virtual machine and happening on the DevNet. So hopefully therefore correlate into the testnet and then mainnet soon enough. But Casper's been doing a lot of very interesting things recently. They made an announcement also yesterday or the day before, talking about this new line of code if they were to write this Casper smart contracts, but not in Ethereum virtual machine, in a new virtual machine with Lua, which people are very concerned about. Like, what's it about? On Casplex's page, they do have, the KYC protocol, the Casplex ZK EVM, and then even the new virtual machine, the new VM, which is under development right now. Which is potentially what they're talking about here, this Lua VM, which, would be able to be used in parallel potentially, or even surpass Ethereum virtual machine. Now, 5BB, one of the core developers for Casplex, does highlight here that it is still a very early experimental version, so it's still got a lot more to do. As an open smart contract environment, it still needs at least 2 modifications to the underlying mechanism, but it is sufficient for the system contract of KRC20, so it can, become this layer for KRC20 as opposed to Ethereum virtual machine. You need to fine tune the performance. So, and I believe that what he's talking about here in this code here does have correlation and connection to what Chris Kang stated here, which I made a small summary of it here, which seems to be that Chris Kang and Casper & Co are talking about how they're exploring new virtual machine smart contract options with Lua VM, expanding away or just expanding further from the ZK EVM smart contracts. And according to 5BB and according to Chris Kang in here as well, it seems that the new mechanism they're exploring would actually simplify the way developers build on Casper, because he talks about it here, how apparently building on Casper right now with the Ethereum dApps actually is very challenging. It's very difficult. So while you can build, Ethereum dApp stuff on Casper with Casplex, ZK EVM and whatnot and other tools, it's actually quite difficult just to the nature of how it's done, how the code is constructed and whatnot. Again, my tech expertise is not anything like from Polinsky's or Michael Sutton's, so it's going to still be much more inferior to that, so there's only so much I can actually say in that regard. But for what I can tell here, reading on it, they made a new virtual machine, or they're experimenting right now with Lua VM to develop another way to build on Casper, which would hopefully developers will be able to, define custom instructions instead of Ethereum transaction data, and users can send Casper transactions with the transactions in the payload field. So it basically will make things seemingly easier. Developers focus on their app's logic zone, we manage the complexities, and together we build on Casper. Smart contracts are designed for more than just meme or DNO projects. So I'm trying to make it a little bit easier to build more than just the standard box standard stuff, to actually build out and build some real intrinsic, important and interesting dApps, not just the typical memes or, again, DJing projects, actually some good stuff, which is what they highlight here regarding Cassia messaging being the messaging app that's coming or being in beta right now to Casper, which I believe they're still working on it in beta, and they're trying to see if they can maybe get some stuff coming to the App Store soon, whether it be iOS or the app or the Android Play Store soon. I think they're looking into that right now. But again, early stuff, of course, more to come, interesting stuff all around. And this will massively help, of course. You've got to understand that the Lua VM or a new virtual machine in that regard, they haven't got to do it, they're exploring it, but if they do, that in that regard would massively help with adoption and onboarding. Because if something's easier to get onto, if you can build on something easier and get onto it easier, then you're going to have more fun trying to make stuff on that. It's going to incentivize more people to jump on it as well, because not everybody is got the brains like some Polinsky or even those who are making Cassia messaging, who have been able to do it on very complex and seemingly difficult and tricky coding and software and protocols, apparently, according to Chris Kang. So this would be very interesting and very, very cool. And equally, 5BB highlights here the differences between the two. So Ethereum virtual machine means a fixed technology path with bloated compatibility builds. So again, it's got some blocked path of bloatedness, which is entirely true. But we can also explore other possibilities after untying some old shackles. For example, it can easily implement parallel computing, has a very simple and easy to learn programming syntax, and has relatively faster execution speed. So as a developer, therefore, if you're trying to build on this new virtual machine with Lua, apparently, it'll be easier programming language to learn with syntax, so you can build stuff easier. It'll be faster execution speed, and it has, implementing parallel computers who do stuff at the same time, which again, a big upgrade from what, currently is the case with, I guess, Ethereum. So Casper seem to be cooking right now. Great to hear. Still no date on their mainnet launch, which is frustrating. Because, well, it's frustrating, but it's more so frustrating because we were led to believe that we see a mainnet coming before Q3, so before this month, before July, and it did not happen. We had the testnet launch end of May, about 30th of May, I believe, and it's been over a month now. We've heard not a peep about when they plan to launch it. They're working on new things right now, so maybe they're trying to focus that on more. So maybe they had a successful testnet, but realized actually a lot of building was a bit complex, and now trying to focus on something new to make it easier before they launch it to the mainnet, which wouldn't be a bad shout. It might also incentivize stablecoins to come on quicker and more migration over from other dApps and other ecosystems to come onto Casper quicker as well. If it's easier, be more worth their while. And they might still have the Ethereum option as well to make bridging seamless as well. But that's in regards to Casplex, and then we got Igra, which of course are also about, or seemingly are cooking as well right now. So we should have heard already that their testnet, their Caravel, is on the horizon. Going to be coming out middle of this month. We're currently on the 5th of July, so we should expect it, therefore, provided we get no delays, which typically be 2 with Casper, unfortunately. But if we get no delays in the next... Well, honestly, it could happen between Crypto Week, from the 14th of July to 21st of July. That's the middle of the month. And if we get a launch of this during Crypto Week and it's successful, while it's not a mainnet launch, it could, be very interesting, bring more developers, more interest, more eyes to Casper, because I feel like people right now maybe a bit more standoffish with Casplex right now. From what I've seen through a lot of community sentiment, they're a bit standoffish with Casplex right now, so maybe Igra will be better for them. And if they're going through Crypto Week, if we get some big announcements for Crypto Week, it could be a very, very big week for crypto and for Casper in particular as well. They're working on a lot of things right now, which... and they also got some very good partnerships, regarding to Wolfie's Bar, who are working and partnering with Igra to help the pre-sales, whatnot, Casper Common, also 3 Search Capital. In that regard, I mentioned it already, there was apparently a token launch on KYC regarding Igra, which is completely incorrect. It's a scam. If you had invested into it, hopefully you didn't. Either way, it's seemingly shut down now, which is, at least good. Therefore, people will not hopefully be hit by that anymore. Not too well versed with that though, and you shouldn't be involved in that anyways. They also made an announcement here saying absolutely clear, we're not affiliated with them, don't plan to launch KYC, so stay clear of it. That's all well and good. And then we got the actual, new huge update. So XXIM once more, shout out Ankit, absolutely killing it right now. He had another new podcast interview with Igra Labs team. That's also one reason why I'm starting to have more faith in Igra. Again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm against Casper, because I'm really, really not. Again, that's why I wanted to go through this stuff first. This new virtual machine, it sounds really interesting. I'm intrigued about it. The problem is, they're just really, really quiet. They're very, very silent. I mean, moving in silence is fantastic. In case, we're not a stranger to that. Casper do a lot of building in silence himself. I don't know what Tom Plinsky and Microsoft are building right now. I'm probably sure I can find out through GitHub, but I'm not entirely sure what they're building right here and now. But Casper, for the most part, have been very, very quiet. And even then, the team behind it seems to be FiberB and Chris Kang, and that's pretty much all we know. But they must have more people than just 2 people working on it. So Casper are very much hidden, which is just I want to say it's a red flag, but it's an amber alert to me. I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm just, keeping a close eye on it. And then Igra, of course, releasing their own thing. And, there have been a few cases with, some of the people from the Casplex team jumping on board, like, well, mainly and only Casper has jumped into interviews and spoke about things, as he's now part of the Casplex team. But Igra have had, a lot more openness, which is what you want to see when you're trying to build, and you want to give the community more sentiment and confidence in what they're being built. So what I speak about here is a whole array of things, which I'm not going to play the whole thing out bit by bit. I'm going to look at my notes and give a brief summary of it, because there's quite a lot I spoke about here. They talk about atomic composability and equally the incoming Igra Labs testnet, which is very, very cool. Very, very cool indeed. So as we get into it, we'll understand a few things. So one of things being, again, atomic composability. Why do they perceive it as the end game? What is it? Why is it the holy grail? Why is it such a big deal for crypto, for Casper as a whole? So you have to understand that so what is atomic composability, or what's it crucial? Why is it crucial for Igra Labs and for Casper as well? Well, atomic composability, it solves fragmentation. What does that mean? So basically, in the whole blockchain industry, particularly with Ethereum, there are a whole number of different rollups and different, similar but different, dApps or whatever maybe, or layer 2s, right? And they are all so similar, but they're all so different that they're kind of on their all on their own isolated islands, right? That's how I'm going to perceive it. So you've got Base, you've got Arbitrum, all the other platforms you can just envision, different level of rollups, whatever it may be. Again, all over the crypto space, blockchain space, particularly in Ethereum, which they're all on their own isolated islands, right? They're all similar, but they're not the same. Each layer 2 has its own consensus, its own sequencing, and that therefore prevents seamless interaction, which is a problem, especially with institutions becoming involved. My bank my bank in England could easily connect to a bank, a different bank across. When you're sending transactions back and forth, for example, I send my money from my bank to, family or friends when they need money. It'll go to their different bank provider, but it's still easy because it's done seamlessly. That's still possible here, but it requires a third party. It requires centralization. It's a bit tricky. It's not ideal. So atomic composability aims to connect these islands, allowing the network effect to connect easier and therefore grow quicker as well and better and as one whole island together. So imagine a forming of all the islands together. That's the kind of the understanding of atomic composability and why it's the end game. That's one element of it. And of course, with Casper design, the block DAG architecture, 10 bps, all that sort of stuff, it would have the ability therefore to allow the layer 2 transactions to go through Casper's layer 1, which is of course very, very good. And all that while it would be extremely quick, quick transaction speed and cheap as well. Instant certainty. So that in itself is really, really good. And it would enhance interoperability, again, that ability to connect to other platforms, other chains, other layer 2s very, very simply. Of course, it's a bit more complex than that, but I'm trying to give a very simplified version to make it easier to talk about and understand as well. The biggest part about it, though, is not just the ability to make things kind of quicker and more seamless and interoperable, it's also it unlocks more use cases. The ability to perform, I think they talk about it as flash loans in here. Flash loans, so stuff like bridging, swapping, breeding, bridging back, all those elements which kind of occur in a whole all or nothing fashion. It can kind of go completely right, go completely wrong. With atomic composability, it becomes more possible and opens up a whole vast array of new complex dApps to come onto the platform, onto Casper, because it kind of cuts up the whole potential difficult middle section that could again end up causing issues because they're all not talking to each other. The chains aren't talking to each other, so this helps out. That's a big deal. And also something else, Casper, unlike Ethereum, has not yet incorporated smart contracts functionalities directly onto its layer 1. So instead, its design is supporting numerous layer 2s. Of course, Igra Labs and Casper being some of them, that sort of stuff as well. For these layer 2s, so for Igra to talk to Casper and vice versa, you need atomic composability. Otherwise, they'll become separate chains and that becomes more competitive and that becomes a bigger problem. They need to solve this, right? Now, it's a very challenging task, very, very challenging. That's what they're talking about in here as well. It requires a lot of, intricate things that is well past my knowledge. One element, of course, is using the zero knowledge, ZK rollups. They need to be aware of the current state of the other layer 2. So when the state and the position and I guess the nature of how Igra is at the time, when using ZK rollups, you need to be aware of how Casper is feeling at that time. Is what I'm trying to send, transaction or any messaging towards Casper at the time. They're going to be able to understand the current state of that layer 2. If the state's not be confirmed or verified on the layer 1, therefore Casper, it would impose a huge burden, probably cause a loss of the transaction or something like that. So again, you need to really get it right. So you need to see a lot of, kind of imagine it to APIs for Web 2s, I guess. That might be a bit helpful to understand if anyone is tech and understands what that means really. But it is, it's a necessity that will help Casper grow more so, and also it would help mature the whole Casper ecosystem while helping the layer 2s also rally up more so as well. So that is basically the long but also TLDR of Casplex, Igra layer 2, and their reason why they believe atomic composability is the end game, why we need it, which is big. And then they talk about the Igra testnet about to be coming out, which is equally very insightful. They talk about how, Caravel is going to be coming out mid-July, so again, probably 14th to 21st of July, I like to believe, therefore. Currently, right now, by the end of this week, they're doing some code freezing and testing. So they aim to, freeze the code by the end of this current week, and then begin rigorous testing and polishing and fine-tuning by mid-July testnet launch. And they believe, of course, that it should be, that they're releasing a separate node client, so they allow, therefore, people like us, the community, to run our own Igra layer 2 nodes, so therefore enabling us to read and write layer 2 transactions directly to Casper's layer 1, and they're going to give out certain benefits for those who actually partake in this. So it'll become decentralized, censorship resistant, so, running community nodes obviously are essential for ensuring the decentralized nature and censorship resistant nature of Igra's layer 2, and they're going to offer reward mechanisms for those who operate, who stake Igra tokens, become validators and whatnot, and the validators will be paid in ICAS, which is the wrapped Casper token for Igra. Of course, there'll also be penalizing those who are trying to take advantage of it, facing penalties, whether it means partial slashing or complete slashing of the staked tokens. Of course, they also mentioned about how you've got people like Wolfie, Research, and equally Casper.com, who are, and others, I'm sure, who are supporting the token allocation and whatnot. And they also then talk about one important feature, which I'm sure you may be asking, you haven't done so already, which is the layer 1 to layer 2 canonical bridge. Ultimately talking about, how Igra are creating their ICAS, their wrap token, which people weren't sure they were going to do that, but they have to. And here's the reason why. The only way that there is no feasible way that Casper can run on Igra without the ZK, the native smart contract, native ZK. So right now, we're in a case, a relatively unfortunate case, but it's going to be a short-term thing either way, so it's not too unfortunate, where you're going to see these ICAS released for Igra stuff. Again, the nature of releasing your own tokens is also trying to reduce the stress and workload on the actual platform. If everybody, Casplex and Igra, are all using Casper, it might put too much strain on Casper and the project itself. So having these other one-to-one backed assets on these certain layer 2s kind of helps you understand which layer 2 you're kind of using for that actual specific layer 2. So whether it be WCAS, Wrap Casper, or whether it be ICAS for Igra's Wrap Casper, and they all one-to-one back with Casper. The problem is a true two-way trustless canonical bridge. So you can do your Casper layer 1 and convert into Casper layer 2 for the ICAS for Igra's, but right now it would not be possible to then convert it back into Casper, the original Casper token, without ZK opcodes, which they are going to be coming out in Q4 to our knowledge. Again, we're waiting for updates on that, but they should be coming out in Q4, hopefully. So in regards to Igra, therefore, if you don't want to partake, again, that's completely up to you, that's perfectly fine. I plan to partake in Igra, definitely. I tend to look at Cashback a little bit as well, probably, but I plan to partake in Igra most definitely. You won't be able to put your Igra ICAS back into regular Casper until the ZK opcodes are completed, which will hopefully be coming out later this year. Well, actually, no, that's not completely true. You can do it, as they do speak in this interview, but it will require a third party. So again, then you've got to take the potential risk of trusting a third party, which you might also therefore lose more gas fees for a third party, getting the payment fees for that as well. So for the time being, for them to send their ICAS back to Casper, it will require a trusting third party. And then when ZK opcodes come out, you can remove the third party. It goes just straight between Casper layer 1 and the Igra layer 2. And you'll see similar stuff for Casplex, I'm sure, as well. Of course, those who are asking, if you're unaware, ICAS is going to be similar to Casper, but for the Igra layer 2. So it's the gas token for transactions, and it will be used for reward for node operators. And again, when the ZK opcodes come out, you can then convert your ICAS into Casper, and basically it's still therefore mining Casper. So the miners therefore will be mining the transactions, receiving iCasper or wrap Casper through the transaction blocks, and therefore in due time, as like an opcode, you convert it back to Casper and therefore mine and get more Casper, and then convert it back into the iCasper or wrap Casper as the miners to then keep it circling in the ecosystem to cause more money to flow through, and again it kind of just scales up, right? The more adoption, it scales up. And there's a lot more talked about in the interview. I do highly recommend checking it out. I've been rambling on for quite a while about that now, but again, I'm very excited about it. It seems to be very, very locked in, building a lot of interesting stuff. So I'm excited to see what comes through it. I do plan to try and partake in the Igra testnet if I can. I will look at cashbacks as well, see if I can get more understanding about it. Of course, Zero have been doing very, very well from what I've seen recently. We're seeing more stuff coming out as well. KFC, for example, or actually, sorry, Castle Wallet here. We're doing some big updates as well, apparently. Version 2.25.0 is here. Smoother EVM integration and UI improvements to level up your wallet experience. Of course, a new wallet therefore coming to Casper. You can send EVM tokens to Casper's layer 2 directly through Castle Wallet. View the origin network of each asset in your wallet. Easy copy your EVM address. Improve UX and sign messages for Connect. NFTs without traits now handled with a cleaner look. Plus minor UI polish and bug fixes. So again, more and more stuff being built for Casper, which is very, very cool. And this will hopefully translate into increased investor sentiment, adoption, and again, what's coming to Casper, it looks very interesting. And all seemingly coming out when the markets are in this kind of critical point of making this hopeful push towards breaking out again. Could therefore incentivize more eyes to Casper. And you have Bitcoin maxis also helping as well, This for me is a very, very big deal. It seems like a small thing. This individual V, he's been all over Casper as of the last 4 or 5 days. He's not a big account. He had 1.5k followers. Now he's got 3.3k off of being a Casper. I don't even want to say maxi or endorser. He's just been starting to look into Casper a little bit more so, and that's got him a lot of support therefore. He literally said on the 29th of June that Casper is a scam. And then since then, he's been told to look into it a little bit more so. He decided to stop feigning ignorance and start looking into it a little bit more so. And then he, gave a response here saying, wild, I gave the exact same responses just a few days ago regarding Casper as Matthew here, because Matthew basically, you can say here, yes, it's a scam. Why do you think that? Bitcoin 2 billion market cap, or Casper 2 billion market cap to Bitcoin 2 trillion. This individual Matthew, who's also a Bitcoin maximalist, a much bigger Bitcoin maximalist, talked about how, again, Bitcoin has a bigger market cap, therefore Casper's got to be a scam, which, for me, again, the race has already been run and Bitcoin won, it's over. Very, very, slam on the front door argument. It's not really anything to build on top of that. And it's also quite a ignorant perspective in my belief. And he said the very same thing here. But he said that, and somehow we arrived at 2 completely different conclusions. One of us decided to put our ego aside and try to look as objectively as possible for any weaknesses in Bitcoin. The other dismissed it as a non-threat. It's okay to disagree, of course. And that's a free market, but it's exactly what's happening here. And yeah, Kodo Stuff says here, your change is interesting to see. And of course, Matt has apparently blocked a lot of the Casper people, like Kodo Stuff, one of the core devs for Casper, and equally shy as well. He blocked everybody. I just posted a lot of Bitcoin maximalist stuff, which again is fine. But for me, I understand the premise of believing what you hold, and especially with a lot of the space being flooded with a lot of just scam tokens, like the most of memes and equally some proof of stakes as well. I get it. I do get it. But when you're going to dismiss something just purely off market cap alone, because it's not got an adoption yet, and you don't understand the technology, it makes no sense. If you understand what you're talking about and technology, then fine. By all means, call it a scam if you believe as such. But this individual here, V, has started to look into Casper. He wants to start talking about it to get a better understanding of it, to build an understanding of Bitcoin and Casper. His understanding of crypto aside, putting his ego aside. And you see more people like V start to do this sort of stuff, which I think is possible. If he's doing it, why can't other Bitcoin maxis do it as well? And other holders do it as well. They start actually thinking, and you know what? I'm going to stop just saying it's bad because of the price action. Let me actually look into the project and understand, what's happening behind it, and then decide if price action alone is enough for me to be not in the project. And that in itself, most of us are in here because we understand the technology is really, really innovative. We may not understand the technology itself, not all of us, but we understand that what they're building is innovative and game changing. And the second best thing to Bitcoin since Bitcoin, actually, trilemma solving. We understand what is being built. The price is bad, and that sucks, but that can shift with investor sentiment and confidence and big high net worth people investing like Bitcoin maximalists or institutions or tier ones that all have the possibility to come through very soon. That can change as quick as that. We've seen how altcoins rally very, very quickly. It's not got a lot of the VC backing that other institutions have and other projects that have, but it can still get that based on what's being built. Smart contracts can incentivize more building on it as well. There's atomic possibility, there's Dagnite stuff coming out. Stablecoins coming to Casper could all drastically shift that narrative. Casper's not a small asset. Its price is terrible, sure, but it's a top 40 asset. Top 40 is not small. They're without any tier 1. Oh, it has tier 1s now. I can't say that anymore. Kraken, BitGet, Bybit, but got there with lackluster tier 1s or without the big ones. Most are in this top, echelon with either Coinbase or Binance or OKX or all of them. Casper's got there without any of them. It's been in connection to OKX and Binance for over a year. Coinbase equally for probably about a year coming now. Has some futures and mining pools on the platforms, but nothing more than that. Spotlist is still not here. They will come. Still believe that, but it might just take some time as always, and time is, frustrating. Of course, you hear it all the time. I try not to dwell on it too much because I'm sure you're tired of hearing soon come, soon come, soon come. But you have nothing else to say. It's kind of what you have to say. And I still believe in Casper, of course. Doesn't change. Hasn't changed. This month could be a big one based on the crypto week and seemingly the timely fashion of Igra's testnet coming out. Hopefully see some stuff for Cashback as well. And we'll see hopefully a lot more coming out as well. I do plan to make a video on the smart contract stuff coming out later, so stay tuned for that. But I'm intrigued about this stuff, as I'm sure we all are, what's coming to Casper, how it could hopefully reignite that spark in Casper again, get the price going up again once more. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, Casper is holding strong below that 8-cent zone. If we break above it, hopefully see another higher high, and that will therefore be an indicator that Casper's in an uptrend. And then we can see the skies a little bit from there, honestly. We're still only in July. While investor sentiment right now seems to be a little bit on the bearish or skeptical side, that can very easily flip based on macro and the Federal Reserve sentiment. And equally the crypto sentiment. If we get these crypto bills coming through very, very quickly, as opposed to being lagged once again, we could see it come through and flip very quickly. And a lot of liquidation of shorts, and therefore a much higher price target. But of course, time will tell. Welcome back, Red A. You're doing very, very well. Yo-Yo's you too. If we move our Casper 14 years later, will it be $1,000 per Casper? I mean, $1,000 per Casper in 14 years from now, I'd assume by that point all of Casper will be totally mined out. So that's therefore just round up to 29 billion. Get the calculator out. And you look at the price when it wants to load. My PC's being slow. Oh, that's because I typed in CapCut, not calculator. There you go. So calculator out right now. $1,000 Casper. So you do supply 28.7 billion. And you times that by 1,000. That would equate to a $28 trillion market cap. I could have done that without the calculator. I don't know why I did it with the calculator. But yeah, $28 trillion market cap. It's 29 trillion market cap. Yes, 14 years from now, who knows what crypto is going to look like. If you're going to see a market that big by that point. People do suspect we will do. If you do see the whole world money, everything coming onto crypto in the next 10 or so years, then in this sort of spectacle aspect, and maybe it's possible. I think Bitcoin will probably reach this sort of market cap in the future. Whether it be Casper as well, again, we'll have to wait and see. Bitcoin's already at 2 going on to 3 trillion, so 28 trillion for Bitcoin is not hard at all. Could Casper reach that? We'll have to wait and see again with their adoption into KRI and what more will be coming out with them, with hopeful more adoption as well, and what they're utilizing and how Casper will hopefully grow more and more. Anything's possible, is what I could say. But I can't give an answer on that as well. It's too far in the future for me to give an answer on that. Could Casper fail? Says that's a meme. Welcome back, bro. You're doing very, very well. I mean, fundamentally speaking, anything can fail. Even Bitcoin at this point can fail. Anything is possible to fail. So, in the grand scheme of the question, yes, but my personal belief is unlikely because of its decentralized nature. How we are holding the price up. You've got people again who are still convicted in Casper, who are stacking Casper continuously and holding the price up time and time again. The price is down, yes, but people are still stacking. Wallet 2 is still stacking. So my belief, personal belief, is that I don't think Casper will fail. Its tech is innovative, and you have seen times in the past where promising tech does fall off and just goes to zero, but because of how crypto is evolving and how Casper is already a very top speculative asset, top 40, has been top 20, while seemingly being suppressed, I think Casper will still succeed. And then it'll surprise people. What's up, that Pulse player, bro? You're doing very, very well. Scott was a mining company. Also, they didn't sell their country, just moved to a new wallet. Okay, I mean, thankful for that, brother. Interesting to know. I'm not too well versed in regards to I'm guessing you talk about the Bitcoin wallets. I'm not too well versed in the nature of the wallets. I just know they have the cold, unmoving wallets for 14 years and now started moving. So maybe it's something behind it, some conspiracy behind it, something they're planning, or maybe it's just, again, convenience, coincidence. Not too sure. I do look into it more so myself. I do plan to. But thank you for that anyways, Pulse Player. It does very insightful. Good to see you still hanging out with us. Yeah, 100%. Good to see Massimina still here. Unplug from the noise, 100%. If Casper fails, all crypto market will fail. Be patient. We have a very good chance. I mean, that's also a good outlook. And I do agree, in regards to how this market was originally created of Bitcoin being decentralized, fair launch, proof of work, a hedge against the corrupt, centralized banking cartel or monetary system. If Casper fails in that regard, you could argue that this whole quote-unquote scheme or ideology of how crypto is meant to be has failed as well. Because crypto right now has become very centralized. Exchanges, projects, everything's either a Ponzi scheme or a centralized entity, and it's scams. Casper's the only one that's come out pretty much ever since Bitcoin that's tried to really adhere to that and, prove that it's possible with a proof of work, being scalable, being fair launch as well. So on an outlook side, yes, I would argue if crypto does fail, then all crypto should fail as well. But I have to wait and see again. It's tough to say. Again, you've got to keep in mind that promising tech has failed in the past. Now, I'm not saying Casper will fail. Again, I've got 99.9% conviction Casper's going to do fantastic. Not financial advice, of course, my belief, but I think it's doing very, very well. It's just a matter of being patient. And I know you hate that hearing that word. I hate it. I hate saying it. But it's just patience. It's aim of the game. Welcome back. Simply Simple. Unfortunately, I do not speak I'm Brazilian. I'm gonna Google Translate it, so at least I'm trying to communicate. Can't say I don't try, right? Google Translate. Portuguese. Apologies. This is effing Brazil. Get the next segment here. Casper. Dandruff in the head. Don't know how that translates to dandruff in the head, but again, it's not perfect. Again, I don't speak Portuguese, unfortunately. Apologies, brother. Hey, in Brazil, they're all stupid. They only talk about Bitcoin. Okay, well, that's good to note. So apparently in Brazil, all we talk about is Bitcoin, which is, it's good they're talking about crypto at least, but hopefully they'll soon learn, therefore, that Casper is the next upcoming big thing. So hopefully they'll all learn soon. But thank you very much again for your comments, brother. I appreciate it very, very much. Welcome back, Ghost. You're doing very, very well, brother. Have a great day so far, and great weekend so far. Happy 4th of July, or 5th of July now, those who celebrate 4th of July. Have a great weekend from it. Crypto now is in limbo, sideways for ETH, Solana, XRP, and many others, waiting for a market decision to be made up or down. Yeah, and my belief, I think right now we're going to hold sideways for a bit. I think the next 2 weeks, maybe, going into crypto week, 14th of July, and then you might see some more definitive movement if you get some reassuring news. Again, the macro may change sentiment as well. People still waiting on the Fed. Have to wait and see right now. Well, I hope crypto did very well, brother. What did I miss? You missed quite a bit. I don't know when you joined, truth be told. Apologies for that. I didn't reply to the question very quickly. Missed quite a bit to talk about the smart contract updates, which I'm sure you were here for. The market sentiment right now seems to be a bit bearish. People trying to short Ethereum and therefore the market right now. Tom Lee, who is very, very bullish normally, is just talking about the market sentiment right now, talking about how institutional investors right now are short in the market, but that could change if we get rate cuts. That will change all investors to be forced to start long in the market, because rate cuts will be fantastic and be likely going on for 18 months as well. So maybe a longer bull cycle there. We'll have to wait and see. But there is still investor sentiment and concern that we will end up seeing a recession, according to Bravo's research, which apparently is a very accurate and consistent predictor. So I have to wait and see again. I'm still playing it by ear. I don't think we're in a recession just yet. I think we can see that change very quickly. And again, remember, the Fed haven't taken any rate cuts yet, and their whole goal is to prevent a recession. So if we get confirmation of that, the Fed will step in. I don't know how to program a block DAG or blockchain. I don't know how to do any stuff either. No idea at all. That's not what this means, sir. This has to do with all Casper being treated the same value, regardless of how they are used. That's what compulsory is about. Without it, people can track coins to crime and treat them differently, or blacklist coins altogether. Compulsory ensures all coins are treated equally. Okay, maybe I misinterpreted what was said. Then I'll re-listen to the podcast here, because my interpretation of what they're talking about with atomic possibility was I mean, while I'm not discrediting your belief or your opinion, because you have been repeatedly proven that I am incorrect at times, and you've been very knowledgeable, so I do trust your insight, definitely, Kryptoni. But my understanding of atomic possibility was basically just allowing better interoperability as well, and allowing, you know, these other layer 2 to seamlessly connect easier. I'll read into the interview and break it down a bit more, so give some better insight. But that's how I understood it. But either way, I mean, that in itself is still a very, very big deal, therefore making Casper much more safer and, again, more decentralized, therefore. It's the ability to combine multiple dApps or smart contract operations into a single transaction and executes one as one divisible unit. If any part fails, the entire transaction is rolled back. Maintains consistency across distributed systems. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where I was going to. I probably didn't explain it as simple as that, which again is why I'm grateful for having both the Tonys here, giving a bit of a breakdown understanding of what the atomic possibility means and what it means for Casper, and then of course how Igra are going to kind of tap into that a bit with their testnet as well, understanding it a bit more so as well. But yeah, again, so the ability to therefore, have more seamless interoperability and combine more of them together. And if it fails, you know, the entire transaction is rolled back, but it maintains consistency across the whole system, which again makes things, I guess, just decentralized and safer, therefore. I'm not sure how, but that's how I understand it, and what I remember how Pavel explained it. He explained it in MA with XXIM. It's hard to be, but it's hard to be implement. But your explanations are still valid. It prevents fraud, ensuring that not transactions will complete with the assurance that there's enough balance in the source wallet, especially with multiple transactions. Operations happen at the same time, similar to overdrafts where banks charge the customer when the balance becomes negative. Atomic possibility prevents this from happening. Well, there you go again. So yeah, it looks like all three of us are correct in our own regards. Of course, I mean, I can say with confidence myself, I'm pretty sure both the Tonys are smarter than myself. And that's the benefit of why I have my community. This community here, the Discord server, and equally the VIP, where everyone is trying to share information and understand more about crypto as well. So when I am also lackluster in my information, we can all learn together. That's why, you know, this channel, not really my channel, it's our community, our channel. But yeah, it looks like all of us in that regard are right, how it helps prevent fraud, make things safer, more decentralized, and also helps more interoperability, make things more connected as well, which is a, you know, benefit in all regards. Welcome back, LB bro. You do very, very well on the check-in. Indeed, Cata means dandruff in Spanish. Ah, well, I mean, that's seemingly what it meant, apparently. So, you know, seemingly what it meant. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Guess Cata means dandruff then. Mr. Miles, welcome back, bro. You're doing very, very well. Very late joining for you today, but good to have you back again. As I understand it, without atomic ability, Casper wouldn't work as a currency because one coin would and could be labeled as different values for another, hence the importance of a mixer. I mean, again, I'm sure there's a lot more to delve into it. I think the whole breaking down of everything regarding this, you know what, this is actually why we do need, not necessarily shy, but devs to really break it down. I'm going to listen to the interview again to see if I can break it down more so I understand what it means, but it's why we need more the inside devs, the core devs, to talk about it more, so because it gives a really kind of broad, technical, and in-depth understanding of, you know, all this intricate stuff about Casper and why it's important. Because we can always, you know, talk about it ourselves, like we're doing now, what we think it means and how we perceived it, but at the same time, none of us are actually using it or actually building it. So our understanding of it, with respect, are probably a bit more lackluster than the core devs or people working on it. So Shai is right in that regard. We should have more tech. We should have a more technical information spreader, just for these more intricate questions. But either way, that being said, it doesn't essentially prevent fraud, or it allows for liquidity. Okay, well, I mean, again, I think all arguments are probably relevant and all right in their own respective regard. I feel like I'm late. I mean, I should have probably put an announcement out previously, but hey, late or not, you're still here, and you can always watch it on playback and still chill the information we got at hand, which is insightful. I'd say ultimately is a bit more of a mellow, maybe a bit more fuddy, but a sort of optimistic outlook on what's going to come to the space very, very soon. I'm still looking forward to it. The next few weeks are going to be quite big, definitely. Welcome back, my man. You're doing very well. Any Casper users in here? I've not had a chance to use it just yet. I thought it was in beta. I'm waiting for it to kind of be more fully released. But from what I've seen for it so far, it does look very, very interesting. So I'm intrigued to start getting into it and using it when it is available. But that being said, thank you everyone once more for watching today's Casper Crypto live stream. If you enjoyed, leave a like, share, subscribe for more. If you get 30 or 35 likes, that'd be absolutely insane. If you enjoyed, as always, leave a like. If you want to know more about crypto and Casper, check out the free community. Again, free Discord server, chill chat, know more about crypto and Casper. Equally the VIP, 7-day free trial. We provide alpha information in there, educational videos, trade alerts, weekly live streams, one happening tomorrow as well. A lot of in-depth insight on that one as well. All available in there, 7-day free trial. Equally, thanks to our work with BYDFI though, a no KYC, no VPN exchange with regulatory licenses in the United States, Canada, Australia, and many more regions. Sign up through there, follow the steps in the Discord server. You can get 1 month free access to the BYDFI channel as well, and a permanent VIP access to the VIP channels of BYDFIs in the community as well. Amongst other benefits like a 70% discount on all trading fees and so much more. All available in the Discord server and description. And equally, if you want to find out more, reach out to me, message me on Discord, and I'll give you an answer and help you out where I can. Did you know you can link Casio to Super Chats? I did not. I'm going to have to look into that because that sounds really, really cool. I'm surprised by that as well, actually. That YouTube that somehow connects to YouTube, therefore. Well, that's interesting. I'll have a look into that, therefore. That means have a great day, good evening, good night, everyone, family, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care now.